Hi, so Pam Washington here from Build My Cleaning Business. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get a lot, which is a lot of people are working either part-time or full-time in another job, and they're having difficulty understanding or figuring out or feeling comfortable with how they're going to be able to transition from their full-time or their part-time job into working in their business full-time. And you know what the real question is generating enough income in that in their cleaning service business so that they can more comfortably leave or sooner leave their other part-time job that they're really just sort of doing for the money. So if that's something that you have had a question about, or you've been struggling about, or you weren't quite sure, then that's what I'm going to talk about for today. So in particular, some of the questions that I get are things like, how do I know how many employees to hire? Should I hire full-time or part-time? How many days of the week should we be open? How do I sort of set up our schedule? And then how do I make that transition? So that's sort of what I'm going to talk about today. So I want to sort of set a stage for you if you're sort of in that situation already. You're a little bit juggling your schedule because you have a responsibility to your employer, whether it's full-time or part-time. They're paying you, so you want to give them an honest day's work for the hours that you're spending there, but you also want and need to be focused on growing your business. I mean, that's really where your passion is, and so I understand that it can be difficult and it can be nerve-wracking because you're sort of straddling two different things and you just are not really sure. And so I've seen a lot of people where they're trying to they want to see if maybe they can schedule so that they work on some things during a certain time and work on their business and then work on their job. Or they're just sort of wondering how to structure it all. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So basically, for everybody that has this question or has this situation, their situation is unique. Some people are working in their full-time job 9 to 5, and so they can really only devote the time in the evening hours. Although one of the things that maybe you haven't thought about is that you could it might be possible for you to structure your lunchtime or your break. So if you want to maybe either try to come in a half an hour earlier or leave a half an hour later so that you can use the lunchtime that you normally would have had, let's say maybe it would have normally been an hour or 30 minutes, maybe you can elongate that period of time so that you can use that time to either attend BNI meetings. BNI is something that I talk about quite a bit that I really highly recommend. It's a super fast way to get a jump start on growing your commercial or residential cleaning service. So BNI stands for Business Networking International. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that in this video, although I will do another video talking about why I recommend BNI and particularly how to make it work for you. But for the purposes of today's training, if you will just Google Business Networking International. It's all over the world. It's an amazing organization. I've joined at various times in my business. It works like a charm. So if you were trying to think about how you could free up some time if you're working full time in a job, but you need to have time for marketing. Most BNI meetings are either first thing in the morning or at lunchtime. So, and they are an hour and a half, which, can be a big chunk of time. The good news is that it's only once a week. So I really recommend, if you want to try to structure your time that you arrive at your other job or the time that you leave, or, maybe eat lunch at your desk or just take a 15-minute lunch a couple of days so that you can carve out that time to do BNI. BNI will take you maybe up to 5 hours a week, aside from the hour and a half meeting, but it is so worth it. I'm not gonna get distracted on that, but it's really a good thing. So that's one of the things that you want to think about. The other thing that you can do is you could hire somebody, either an individual or a company, to handle phone calls during the day, inquiring about service. But one of the things that I recommend that you do is get some sort of an online booking form or a contact us form that you can have embedded on your website. There's also something that I have on my site, Fast Friendly Spotless. It's an instant quote form. So if people want to find out how much it would cost to have their house cleaned, they fill out that form and it will send them a price. But what's nice about it is that in order to get the price, they have to give me their email and their phone number. So that way I can contact them later, to follow up and maybe try to close the sale later. Because the fact of the matter is that most people that visit your website are not ready to buy at that moment. So it's really important that you have some way to continue to market to those people. So whether you're going to follow up with a phone call or send them an email, if you're going to use retargeting pixels, which are really popular and a really smart idea. Have you ever noticed how, like, if you go to Zappos or Amazon, or you're shopping somewhere online, or you're looking at a specific vacation or a pair of shoes or whatever it is, and then for days and sometimes even weeks after that, that item keeps popping up in your browser whenever you're on Facebook or when you're on the internet? That's called a pixel. And what happens is when you visit that company's website, they attach a little something, I don't know, a cookie, or I'm not really technical, I don't understand the terms, but there are people that you can hire to set those up for you on your website, and that's a wonderful thing, especially if you have a commercial cleaning business, because the buying cycle for commercial cleaning contracts is really very lengthy. It's much longer than for residential cleaning contracts. Excuse me. So for example, if you're, going after a residential cleaning account, they may reach out to you today and they may hire you and be ready to make a decision and start working with you in a matter of a few days or even a few weeks. Typically, commercial cleaning contracts, although they may have cleaning every day of the week, they typically only rebid that service maybe once a year, once every 5 years. It can be a very lengthy process. So if people are looking for that, if they're starting to think about it and they visit your website, you definitely want to have a way to be able to stay in touch with them, because it could be 6 months, a year, many years before they're actually ready to buy. So you want to be able to stay in contact with them. So these are just some of the techniques and strategies that you can use to begin marketing your business. In general, I'm a big fan of systems, and I talk a lot about automating processes. So if you are currently working in a job, either part-time or full-time, and you're not really able to spend a lot of time marketing your commercial or residential cleaning service, that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't hold you back. There are plenty of other ways that you can do marketing that don't require a ton of your time. You can also hire people to distribute flyers for you. So that's sort of the marketing piece. But the other question that I get asked a lot is about the employees, and in particular, someone asked me this in my Success Academy group coaching program, so I want to address that question. So one of the things that you can do is, I think this particular person was talking about employees as opposed to independent contractors. So one of the things that I did when I was first getting started, sort of reamping my residential cleaning business, is that I just hired one person and I put her on like a straight, half-time. So she committed to be available for me every morning, like from 8 to 1, 5 days a week. And so I just, paid her, I think her rate was $11 an hour, and I just agreed to pay her for that amount of time, whether she was actually working cleaning houses or not. When she wasn't working cleaning houses, I paid her to distribute doorknob hanging flyers in areas where, I wanted to get some clients. And anytime she did have a client, I had her spend, 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after the job distributing the flyers in the various neighborhoods. And then if I only had 1 or 2 jobs, in the course of a day or even sometimes a week, maybe I would only have like 3 or 4 jobs for that week, and I would really need to try to fill up her schedule, then what I would do is I would offer discount coupons like on my Facebook page or in community Facebook groups, so that even if I just got enough money to pay her wages, let's say she was going to go and clean a house for 5 hours, and so at $12 an hour, that was going to be $60, plus my overhead and expenses. So let's say maybe I needed to make $90 on that job. Well, if you offered somebody, a one-time discount, if you could locate somebody that was interested in having service maybe every 2 weeks or even once a month, and maybe that normal 5-hour service was going to be, let's say you're charging $30 an hour, so normally that would be $150. But if you offered to give it to them for their first time for $80 or $90, just as a sort of a get acquainted offer, then what happens is they're going to jump all over that deal. So you're going to be sure that you can get a booking. And you don't lose any money. Granted, you don't make any money, but if you think about the fact that maybe you spent, you actually didn't spend anything because you didn't lose any money by doing that deal. So, you made just enough money to pay your worker, but you got a new client now, and you didn't have to pay, like advertising costs or, pay-per-click or Yelp advertising or any other sort of paid traffic. So you actually brought in a potentially long-term client. Let's say they're going to be once a month, and it's going to be $150 every time. So let's see, that's $1,800 over the course of a year. So you broke even on the first deal, but now you've got a new client that's going to pay you $1,800 every year. And if you keep that client, let's say 2 or 3 years, I mean, that's, it's almost $6,000. It's about $5,000. So you basically, broke even on the first deal, but you got a client that you're going to make maybe $5,000, off of over the next 3 years in your business. And even if your profit margin was, let's say your profit margin is 20%, I mean, that's $1,000. So you put $1,000 into your pocket, and you had very little out of cost expense. The fact of the matter, one of the things that you really need to start thinking about is that there is a cost to get a new client. So it's really just a matter of figuring out how much am I going to pay for that. So whether you're going to pay your worker to distribute flyers, and you're going to pay them an hourly rate plus whatever it costs, for the paper and the ink and the printing for the flyers, any way that you get a new client, there's going to be some cost. So it's really just a matter of figuring out how much am I willing to pay based on what the client is worth to me. So for the person that was asking about, who to hire, I would recommend that you maybe start off just putting a part-time person on sort of like salary, give them a certain guarantee, have them agree to be available for you either in the morning or in the afternoon. Maybe if you want to try to get a couple of people so that, you have work for one person this week and another person the next week, and that way you'll sort of have 2 people, so you're not totally dependent on that one person in case something happens to them. And then, you just make it your mission that you're going to find enough jobs that week to, at a very minimum, pay for their salary. So let's say if they commit to being available from 8 to 1, so that's 5 hours at $12 an hour, so that's $60. So let's say by the time you have your other expenses, let's say it costs you $80 a day for 5 days a week. So basically that means that you have got to generate a minimum of $400 worth of business every week just to break even on that employee. So then you just do whatever you have to do to make that happen. If it means that you've got to be posting in the Facebook groups, if you've got to be sending out emails to everybody that you know in the neighborhood, I mean, whatever you have to do in order to meet that goal of a minimum of $400 in revenue every week. And 400 is your break even, so you really, you want it to be, let's say, 600. But that's how you begin to get your business started, even though you're working, a job separate from your business. And then, you just gradually transition that over time. So with regard to the question about setting hours, I mean, maybe initially you can, you don't have to tell people or advertise that you're only available in the mornings. You can simply say, when clients call you, you can say, oh, I don't have any availability in the afternoon, but I have this morning time available. Is there a certain day of the week that morning would work for you? They don't have to know that you're just starting and that you only have one part-time person and that you can only do, business in the morning. I mean, don't make it seem worse than it is, okay? So that's sort of the solution for that problem. I wanted you to kind of just get your brain going. I think if you take the ideas that I gave you and just sort of carry them on into their natural conclusion, you'll be able to brainstorm about a lot of other ways that you can solve that. So these are the kinds of things, of course, that we solve on a daily basis in my Cleaning Business Success Academy, which is on Facebook. You can also find it on my website, buildmycleaningbusiness.net. And if you're watching this video at any place other than buildmycleaningbusiness.net, go ahead and head on over there now, because I've got all sorts of goodies and free information and training and wonderful things for you to help you build and grow your cleaning service business. So that's all I have for today. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.